Joining me right now, Democratic Congresswoman Carol Shea-Porter of New Hampshire. She's a member of the Armed Services Committee who attended yesterday's contentious hearing on the Foreign Relations Committee. Congresswoman, great to have you here. And as NBC's First Read is pointing out, the Obama administration is really trying to convince the left. Secretary Kerry will chat with liberal bloggers today, also sit down for an interview with MSNBC's All In host, Chris Hayes. And you say on your website and Facebook page that you oppose the U.S. taking military action against the Assad regime in Syria. Explain to us why, and what would your alternative be at the president's request to do this?
Okay, thank you. I do oppose it at this point, barring anything else happening here. And the reason for that is because it's chaos there, and we're not sure exactly what would happen if we intervene. If our strike is too light, we could embolden Assad, and he could claim that he was able to still stand and resist the United States. If we strike too heavily, we could accidentally upset the balance of power there. And we know there's an alphabet soup of extremists who are waiting to step in. So there's no clear path right now through this civil war, and that's the reason I said, go slow, and I plan to vote no at this point in time.
Congresswoman, the former CIA director and CIA NSA General Michael Hayden was on Morning Joe today, and he gave a warning for those in Congress who are opposed to the strike, like yourself, at least for now. And this is what he had to say. Take a look.
This is the least worst option we now have, and it would be near catastrophic, I think, for American influence in the world, for the American Congress not to support this.
So are you worried at all about how the U.S. will look if Congress decides not to act and not follow the lead of the president?
Well, of course we worry about everything here, but the reality is that there's still another option, that we can press harder for a political solution, that we can provide more humanitarian aid and get other countries to do that. And we can also really highlight Assad and his regime and what they have done. And we can put their names into an international court, and we can prosecute them. I mean, remember at the time in the 80s when Chemical Alley was using chemicals, and of course it was Saddam Hussein, and then President Reagan did not take these actions at that time. So we're not saying that we never would. I'm just saying right now we should not, because we don't know what the consequences would be. I abhor the use of chemical weapons. I abhor, everything that Assad has done. But I do not wish to replace him with people who are just as ruthless. And we really don't know what the consequences will be here.
You make a very valid point, because while people talk about the way and the strategy to enter, the exit strategy is a major concern for people. However, we're hearing from the right, like Republican Congressman Joe Wilson of South Carolina. He's the one who famously yelled, "You lie," during a speech by President Obama to a joint session of Congress. Seemed to accuse the president of using Syria to actually distract from other problems during the House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing the other day, saying that this was just the way for the president to take everybody's eyes off of Benghazi and other situations, basically put up a red herring, and that the proof does not exist. If the UN comes back and their investigators say that there are defined results from their investigation and connect this to Bashar al-Assad, does that change your stance?
Well, let me say I have reviewed the intelligence, and the president is not making anything up. I have reviewed it. I've been in a number of hearings and briefings, and there's great concern here. We don't know exactly the number of bad guys. Unfortunately, like I said, it's an alphabet soup. I've heard different numbers used about what the percentage of extremists are who are fighting with the Free Syria group, but we don't know. And so right now, I have to stay right where I am, because I have to think about the day after if we struck. But the president's not trying to distract us. I mean, this is real. This is a chaos in this country, and we do need to be monitoring it and paying attention to it and discussing it.
Thank you, Congresswoman Carol Shea-Porter. Really appreciate your time and your insight.